Good evening. A political storm is hovering around Parliament ahead of an already divisive election for Speaker and Deputy Speaker in May. The race for Speaker has pitted incumbent Rebecca Kadaga against her Deputy Oulanyah and Opposition Chief Whip Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda. More than 10 legislators have also expressed interest to replace Oulanyah as Deputy Speaker of the 11th Parliament. So how will the political bickering and smear campaigns leave the image of Parliament as an institution? Tonight we host Jacobo Oboth, Theodore Sekikubo, and Yusuf Nsibambi, all vying for this position of the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having honored our invitation to come for this very important discussion. I must be frank with you tonight. The spotlight of Uganda is on you, and I'm going to be putting all the questions that I can have. Believe you me, every question is on the table, and I'm going to begin with you, Honorable Oboth. And you are more than 10 here in the race trying to replace the Honorable Oulanyah. And the general question I'm going to begin with the three of you, to be fair, is why? What is it that you want to do, and what pushes you to come for this position, Oboth?
Thank you, Patrick, and good evening, our viewers. What a question to begin with. Currently, I'm the chairperson of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Nobody knows, as of now, about that parliament or parliamentary affairs, if you take away the Speaker and Deputy, more than I do. If you want to say, I've been the one cleaning around, mopping around the veranda of the office of the Deputy Speaker. So I am here only to say the person who has been cleaning the office around the veranda should be allowed to get in and provide the service. How about that?
What an imagery you're using. Since when does the cleaner just become the ED?
And that is why I am here. Let it be for the first time. I use that to give you the information that as chairperson of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and there's a background to this. This is not far-fetched. We've had about 9 speakers and about 8 deputies from 1962, but there's some background.
Okay.
I know from 96 or from 62, there's some background. I am only here hoping that history will repeat itself.
With a lot of respect, by the way, just don't forget about my joke. I know you are the chairperson of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of Parliament, which is one of the most important committees of Parliament, and you have the experience there. But so equally, these two gentlemen who are here have the experience, but maybe they think they're more grounded than you do. So, Honorable Theodore, why are you vying for this position of Speaker? Are you in it for a long haul?
Thank you, Patrick, and good evening, viewers. Well, the question really goes back to me as a person, and without hiding it here and there, yes, I want to be the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. I have what it takes to be one. I've spent some time in that house. I've virtually rotated around all the aspects of Parliament. I've not been fortunate to chair a committee like Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, but that notwithstanding, it is the question of how ready you are. How can you fit in to be the Deputy Speaker of Parliament? And Patrick, look at it this way. You only have to look at what are your core functions. The core functions of a member of Parliament are well known, and by extension, the Speaker. You have one Speaker of Parliament, where you have the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. But all functions of Parliament emanate from the office of the Speaker, where you have the legislative function, you have the oversight function, and the accountability function as parliament. So you look at the broader parliament, how you as the speaker or the deputy speaker, the one who would be chairing sessions of parliament, how you'd be able to conduct and guide parliament to reach their core functions and duties. And certainly I feel I'm more prepared, I'm ready for that role. It is an honor. And lastly, on that point, you see, ordinarily, every member of parliament is qualified to be the speaker or the deputy speaker. So you just have to be one among equals.
You know, one among equals, your record, Honorable Theodore Kikubo, with a record, you belong to the NRM party, but even in the NRM, you were looked at the pariah, the rebel kind of MP. In fact, they actually call you the rebel MP, the renegade one, who's always going the other side. How are you even sure that the people who have baptized you rebel MP, and sometimes you have even fought to stay only in the party, can give you the position of speakership? Are you not even punching above your weight?
Well, Patrick, I wouldn't say that that is your own creation. Because as you see, I've been in parliament for the last 4 terms. And each term I've come on the NRM ticket. It's a fact. I have no issues whatsoever with my party. Now what you're talking about, NRM, if you bother to look at it and its constitution as well, it's multi-ideological. It's all-inclusive. It accommodates even the Ssemujjus, whom you think they are pariahs, but in actual sense they are.
You know, the position of the deputy speaker, in my view, requires that person who is so grounded, the person who is so principled, the person who is not going to change tomorrow or the other day. I'm saying this because sometimes you oppose the policies of the NRM as a party. When you meet the chief executive, you actually apologize. So, you know, inconsistency is one thing that is consistent with you.
You see, I think when I come here, Patrick, you get it from the horse's mouth. Rather than you creating stories and issues on me. I'm here before you.
I'm not creating stories.
I'm just
speaking your record.
Now, when you go to the issue of apologizing, you move from one position to another. Well, let's look at it this way. Where is the benchmark for you to say the party said this, you did the opposite, you first agreed to this, then you shifted? Because now you are running the risk of putting yourself in the arena. Leave it to any of my colleagues who may be having that thinking. But the bottom line is, the principle is standing by your conscience, stating a position, sticking to it. Can you cite areas for the benefit of viewers where I have shifted from one position to another? Probably that could look like question and answer.
You opposed the removal of the age limit.
Yes.
And just before last year, the president invited you and the other colleagues who said no to the removal of the age limit. You're one of those who went, and those who went are recorded to have been said to have apologized for the position they took. And that's only one example.
Patrick, you are our host. Would you look in that camera and say and tell Ugandans and viewers where Ssemujju apologized, where the people who went to meet the party president apologized? Can you cite it?
So, all right, let me put it the other way.
If members, all right, a moment to that.
So you were saying the removal of the age limit from Parliament for your party chairman was wrong, a wrong political move. You can clear your name now.
No.
Okay, leave it there.
Let me build it. Let me build it.
You don't have to build it. Just have to say,
why
would you have to build that?
Let me build it this way. In a political party, like any other organization or association, you disagree on one. But that doesn't mean that you break up. You still could be looking at the values and the good ideals within that.
I'm not even saying that you should be breaking up. I'm not even saying that you should be breaking up. I'm only saying
I'm categorically telling
to make
you
a statement now where you stand, that you're a man of your conscience on that issue, whether that was an error of judgment for your colleagues to have removed the age limit.
Why do you want me to judge my colleagues? That is
because you have a political stand.
I thought that is an aberration from the gist of this discussion.
Okay.
The point I'm making is that, yes, we had shortfalls. We had a deficit there. And I want to restate it. In my opinion, and in my conscience, I thought that wasn't the best for the country.
All right.
And I stand by that.
Yeah, but how that has been long coming, right?
No. Because there is a way you are trying to spin it.
I'm not spinning.
The way you are spinning it is to portray me as someone who went to apologize. And it's not good, spinning. Patrick. All it's not good, really. It's not good. I want to restate it again that nobody has any recording, has any evidence, and it didn't happen. What we had was an interaction, a mutual interaction between party members and their chairman. And how it ended, the way you turned, was, my friend, I know the media is full of many stories, but that wasn't part of it.
Honorable Yusuf Nsebambi, you are coming to Parliament, very new person there, right? And by the way, all of you are lawyers. And I understand you have taught these lawyers, you've lectured these lawyers at university, right? So, well, I can see the power balance. But now, I mean, as somebody who's come like the new kid on the block to really say I'm coming for the deputy speakership, people have been in power in the House for 20 years, for 15. They have, been having parliamentary committees, legal and parliamentary affairs. You clearly, I don't know how to, but punching above your weight. This could be tantamount to political arrogance. How can you just look at the other people and think you're stepping in and you're saying I'm the one?
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, viewers. I think I'm not a novice in politics or governance. First of all, I'm the missing block, not just a new kid on the block. I'm the missing block in Parliament. What you've just seen this evening is clear that there's something lacking at the level of the office of the speakership. When you look at what is going on in Parliament, Parliament is suffocated by the executive and the NRM party. You see, the speaker herself, she has tried her level best to put matters right, and maybe even the deputy speaker, but they're working under the influence of one person and the NRM government. So you find actually the NRM caucus is actually in charge of the affairs of Parliament. So we're coming in specifically as an independent and a moderate voice. That's actually what is really lacking. You find a fusion between the executive and Parliament. You cannot even tell whether this is the work of Parliament or the executive. It's actually Chankwazi caucus and State House meetings running the show. So I'm coming in specifically to create a change and to empower Parliament so that it's really a bit independent and following the principles of separation of powers.
Is it even the caucus running the show,
exactly,
or the chairman of the caucus deciding for the caucus?
I don't know, but you see...
Because it would be okay if the caucus were debated and agreed, and after all, they have the numerical strength in Parliament, and then they come and vote. But
yeah,
you don't go to the caucus. I also hear even the caucus does not have the voice.
It's actually one man's show. But I would have no problem the NRM caucus caucusing and discussing and direct members of Parliament here on matters of policy, and then you leave the affairs of Parliament to be run by Parliament. And it is the office of the Speaker to be in charge. It's not in charge at all. For instance, you find the...
Then why don't you go for the big one?
For the speakership?
Yes.
I want to go for the deputy speakership, specifically not because I'm a novice or I have no parliamentary experience and exposure, but specifically the speaker needs also some bit of help from... It's just an office, just not individuals. You need...
Well, I mean, you already said Parliament is misguided. The caucus is in charge. So help where? To just push her, do what you think is not even right?
I'm comfortable with the people vying for the speakership. My only problem is now with the deputy speakership as an office. And I think I'll put matters right.
But you see, now, Honorable Jacob Oboth, you know, Honorable Yusuf Nsibambe is coming from the public. He's just joining parliament now. But look at the image he has as a Ugandan about the parliament of Uganda. That really things are not decided in parliament. That's the caucus that rubber stamps things. This is the image the parliament of Uganda has built before the people of Uganda.
Well, with due respect for that's my professor. He taught me business law, business association in Makerere.
And corporate governance.
And corporate governance.
So I have.
So debating with my professor here, wanting a small job that I'm vying for is a bit difficult. And then this is my very senior brother, one of the people who inspired me in the house. We have very cordial relationship. But coming from outside, I would agree with him what he's saying, but only sympathize that it should be ready for a rude shock. We are in multi-party dispensation. There is what we think is going on. NRM caucus is not the only caucus in parliament. In multi-party dispensation, things are done through caucusing. There are groupings. My professor, you will get there, you will get to your cocoon of FDC to be a caucus, NUP caucus, opposition as a whole, they caucus, include the independent, they choose which side they want to go to, the NRM caucuses. We are in a democratic process.
But you see, every time you have caucused, the people of Uganda have been left betrayed. In fact, they have a lot of the Honorable Theodore Sekikubo, because sometimes he goes against the caucus, and when he does, I see a section of Uganda saying, yes, I think that man has understood the dynamics of our politics and where we should be. There's nothing wrong to caucus, but when you caucus and you injure the constitution of Uganda, you remove the constitutional safeguards for us to have, for example, things like peaceful transition of power, then that caucus is not serving Ugandans. That caucus is serving other interests.
Well, that is your opinion, and I believe I respect that. From outside, as an observer, yes. What is politics? What is being involved in a democratic process?
The art of managing people, and I'm sure it should be
yes,
managing them in a fair and justified manner.
And if the caucus has members of parliament who are representatives, what is the presumption? Is that whatever they agree on must be in the interest of the people. But is it the case every time? Probably not.
I just want to refresh your mind, Honorable Jacob, that at one point when Parliament was removing, for example, the term limit, money exchanged hands. That 5 million shilling was given to members of Parliament to remove the constitutional term limits. And if that's the kind of caucus you're talking about, where members of Parliament have put a price on their heads, then that is something.
I wasn't part of that Parliament, I think.
It's the institution. It's the institution you're talking about. The institution for which you want to lead.
Yes, but I think Patrick, I know you putting us in the corner. You want the best for us. You want the best for this country. And we're here. You can't judge us for what has happened. You should only be anticipatory that we can have. All of us here are capable. You cannot judge us for the past mistakes of others. I've never been a deputy speaker.
Yes, but if you expect, if you expect that I am going to sit and listen to you and nod my head like that, and then there was going to be no discussion. I'm sorry, but there has to be a discussion.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's why I'm just reminding you that even the other day, the removing term limits, I am told members of Parliament from the NRM were promised 20 million shillings.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm competent enough to discuss about who received money, who gave money. But parliaments world over they don't have very good reputation. So even as I want to be a deputy speaker, I am aware of this.
Well,
not many
we don't mind about the world. Ugandans, we
It's
deserve
my
better.
world. Uganda is my world.
Yes, we deserve
Yes.
better. So if the other parliaments don't have a good reputation, we,
Because
the
it's
voters
about
and the
perception.
Ugandan citizens, we are telling you we deserve better.
Patrick, it's about perception. Somebody else who may not know you well may think in the show you are a little rude, but maybe not, because you have an objective to get the best out of us. This is perception. The perception index of corruption here.
Unfortunately, the world runs on perception.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And you know, we can't help much. To change that perception is that why I'm coming with the...
Okay, let me maybe, there's somebody stated this. Let me play it for you so that you can hear when I talk about issues of money. I think it was the Honorable, let me have a producer play that clip so that it can put this into perspective.
Madam Speaker, we have been electing speakers and the deputy speaker without monetizing this process. But when you look at what is going on now, you wonder whether this is going to be a transactional parliament. Where are we heading to, Madam Speaker? Why should people use money to become speakers and deputy speakers of this parliament? Madam Speaker, this House should not accept or allow this to go on.
Just imagine the Honorable Member Saropendi speaking with that passion and probably anger about the transaction that is going on. One of your own. One of your own.
That's right.
Yes. Honorable Theodore, what do you make of that?
And
are you the one giving money?
Well, I'm just a candidate to begin with. I've expressed my desire. I've expressed my aspirations to my colleagues. But you see, Mr. Kamara, this started from the caucus. And now, before I can decisively answer the question about money, the caucusing world over in any multi-party political dispensation would be taken as part of the interest aggregation and interest articulation of a particular political party. Now, whether it degenerates into rubber stamping as the opinion you're talking about, that's a different matter. That's why it would require a very strong and careful speaker to be able to weave through the labyrinth, but manage to reach Parliament where it wants to go. That should be your cardinal role. Yes, there could be goings on, but are you able to steer the House clear of those manipulations? Because the issue of money would rather to manipulate for a particular outcome. Now, what Honorable Sarah Opendi was alluding to, it has been happening. It has been hard. Unfortunately for me, probably even my colleagues, they are known that they are aspiring. They can't be called into a particular plot. Probably it is happening elsewhere because there are issues, campaign pens, T-shirts, suits, some pocket money, etc. Particularly for the members who resigned their offices way back in July and are having to wait up to early June for them to start their parliamentary roles and responsibilities and therefore earn from there. Probably there is something that members need to be assisted. But I want to state...
So the issue of pens and T-shirts, do you find them unbecoming and something that is a bother?
Because we are in a Commonwealth parliamentary system, and ordinarily a speaker ought to be just dragged by members. And as I stated from the word go, you are just one among equals. Patrick and viewers have been around to witness how the position of the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda, particularly right from the 7th Parliament, where we had a meeting with the president at Nakasero. Then we moved down here and we elected the speaker, Patrick. There wasn't this.
But really, the issues of pens and the T-shirts and all that, we're talking about the honorable members of parliament.
We are not.
Seriously? Can somebody be swayed because he received a pen and a T-shirt or even a million shillings?
There is an aspect that you are trying to minimize now among the many,
because
fashions.
I see she's annoyed and the pens and the T-shirts, have talked about them, and I'm wondering what about them? Because you are better than that by far, all of you.
It is as if you are igniting, you've triggered off another campaigning process.
You have just mentioned about the T-shirts and pens, not me. And you mentioned them in disgust. And I'm wondering, why should that even be a bother?
No.
Because the honorable members of parliament are better than that.
No, Patrick, you've only picked off one aspect of her comments of Honorable Sarah Opendi's disgust. She has talked of money. Now, these T-shirts are a team walking around, you know, brandishing pens. We are in a particular class, we are for a particular person. That wasn't the case. And we are saying each society, each parliament, each country deserves its leaders. And would you want to have such? We had the 7th parliament, it wasn't the case. We had the 8th parliament, that wasn't the case. The 9th parliament, it manifested a bit in 2016 in the 10th parliament. But this has now gone overboard.
All right,
and that's why you are saying,
Honorable
wait a minute, do we deserve to be there?
Let's bring Honorable Yusuf. You listened to Honorable Sarah Opendi there.
Yes, I did.
And, you know, Honorable Jacob both told you, you know what? You could get a rude welcome of sorts because you're going to join a group of people you haven't been there. And that could be your shock therapy.
No,
you have the money?
Patrick, personally, I'm not surprised with the bribery and what is going on because ideally, the NRM party is based on 2 principles and 3 actual principles on this, specifically bribery, intimidation, and patronage. I've been in this election process in Maukota South. When you look at what happened in the NRM primaries, people spent close to 500 million. Then it came for the direct elected MPs, at least minimum, people are spending more than 500 million. It's actually a miracle that some of us were here. So actually this issue of bribery and intimidation and patronage is not new. I'm surprised the Honorable Opendi is bringing this up. In the NRM caucuses, people are seeking for money to go and buy votes, specifically sugar and other gifts. So personally, I'm really surprised that these honorable members here were really wondering what is happening, that is corruption. I think what we have to fight as a vice collectively is to ensure that there's no commercialization of politics. So it's like a translation of what is happening in the general elections to parliament. I got a call personally from one of the aspirants as a deputy speaker, and I don't want to say she or he, and was suggesting that, can you please give us your number and send mobile money? I said, for what? I also got advice from one of my colleagues. She did not go through. She said, now you have to prepare close to 1 billion because you have to give out. I don't have even 100 million on account. So I think this vice is real. And wherever they go to caucuses, they're demanding for money. That's why we want to come in to give some bit of integrity to this August House. It is becoming a deal house. People are just coming and thinking about money. You're talking about pens. I hear people have bought motorcycles and cars for MPs. An MP to get a motorcycle for what? So I think we should really come out. We have to come out and fight this. The people are getting motorcycles, and it's happening. You're a journalist, a senior journalist. You find out.
I do not want.
And,
you know, he's an office of course.
It's so embarrassing.
He's a lecturer at the university.
It's so embarrassing.
He's an elected member of parliament. I just want to believe what he's telling me.
Yes.
That especially when another contestant is trying to send you money mobile
exactly.
to buy your vote so that you can give him a mandate.
And I said, for what? I also got information when we met in Mbale, the FDC elected members, and people are calling our members, I know you want to come over and meet your people, and we give something. So here, this is here real, and it's so surprising. We should fight it.
Okay, very briefly, the two of you, if you can respond, then we can take
yes,
a break.
First of all, I totally agree with the Honorable Sarah Pendi. The concern she raised, this will be my 15th, my third term. But as Honorable Ssemujju said, from 1377, when the first speaker, at least within the Commonwealth countries, was elected, they usually go unopposed. The canvassing of votes is done after just expression of interest. Then the caucusing begins. That's why you are dragged, that you appear you don't want, because they shouldn't even be hearing you. Probably this is the first time that the contestants for Deputy Speaker for Parliament of Uganda, we are over 15 members. What an attraction there. So that's why we are seeing transactional dealers are coming to Parliament. And when somebody is giving out money, they want to recoup it. The speaker is not the one who speaks most in the House, but the one who guides and regulates speaking in the House. Speaker is in such a powerful position when he's in the chair. You can make directives and orders. You need integrity. You need credibility. A person who bribed his or her way into that leadership, that is a fallacy. That's a false start. So I agree with the Honorable Sarah Pendi and many other members. I am in this race, and most people say, oh, both you have all the qualities, but maybe because of others who are giving money, they might bribe people away. I said my candidature is there will vindicate me. If the members believe I have the qualities, what it takes, the integrity, I am here. If they don't, I will not bribe anybody to get to be elected, because I'm not coming to do my work.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Theodore, you want to
see,
quickly respond before we take a break?
Patrick,
Yes, sir.
The tragedy we have is that this is not only limited to members and the aspirants bribing the would-be voters. Because the first business we have after the swearing in is to elect the speaker and the deputy speaker. But now imagine, how will you be appearing on the floor of Parliament when you raise a matter of great public importance? You want to catch the speaker's eye, and he or she knows that after all, I paid you. You never voted me out of your conscience. I just paid you. How will you be able to help your constituency? Because you raise, the speaker would be having other issues. Number two, for you to put in such huge amounts of money, how are you going to recoup that money?
Exactly.
How?
Okay. All right.
By you sitting in the chair, it means that even you in the chair, you are there for just business. You must recoup your money. And to hell with these members, however many they are, you don't have business with them. And yet the speaker must have empathy.
Okay. Hold on. Gentlemen, hold on to your points, because we're going to take a break. But the issue and the talk of bribing members of Parliament is disturbing, because you sit in our hallowed temple of democracy, a citadel of democracy. You are honorable members. You're not horrible members. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are all vying for the position of Deputy Speaker of the 11th Parliament. I have Honorable Jacob Oboth. I have Honorable Theodore Sekikubo, and the MP-elect, Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi. And, I just want to go beyond the issue of bribery, because really, sometimes I get angry because I'm thinking, no, these are honorable members of Parliament. And so, I mean, these are things of giving them some money or buying them a motorcycle is so petty, and it just damages the image of Uganda. I don't want to even talk about it. I just want to imagine that's not happening. But there has been a problem every time there's an annual review of the performance of Parliament, the quality of debate has been talked about at its so low in the House. If you were to be Deputy Speaker, how do you raise that quality of debate when you have about 500 members of Parliament? Because most of them have said they don't debate so well because, look, they don't even give them a lot of time to express themselves. If you compare in the 60s and the early 80s, members of Parliament there, I am told, that were exceptionally good in terms of articulation and legislating. Yet, those members of Parliament, you cannot compare them with you because for you, you're highly educated than them. Most of them had just modest education, but they're exceptionally good. How do you raise the level of debate? After all, you have highly qualified people in that House, majority.
Yeah, it goes to two things. One, it has to be training. Also, you have to trim the House, either create two houses, I should say. You have an upper and a lower house, so that will give people ample time to debate. Personally, I have no problem with the kind of debate going on. My biggest problem is to ensure that there is sanctity of Parliament, so that people are free, they can breathe, they're not suffocated, so they're in position to debate freely. That is really lacking. You cannot debate anything against the establishment, that is government, the executive, and then you're allowed to debate again. You just be pushed, like Honorable Ssemujju and others were taken to the disciplinary committee. So people have no morale to debate. You can either train these people and have good debaters, and they articulate issues comfortably, but they are not comfortable. In fact, personally, that's the reason we're going there, to ensure that we come in as a ventilator, for people to breathe. There's no breathing. People are being squeezed by the executive. You also have the second problem. That House, you're actually not looking at numbers, but with the due respect, it is a deal House. Debate is really useless. People are just surviving. They're just looking at it as a job. So they're looking at allowances, they're looking at coming up with the deals. Actually, the Chinese and the Indians are in charge of Parliament.
So you want to be the deputy
so
chairman
if there's
of the dealers?
Yeah, when it gets to issues to debate where they have to get something, you get good debaters. So actually, if you fight that vice also, then you have people who can debate. I can assure you the honorables here are good debaters, and you have the majority also who are good debaters.
You know,
So
it's
it's
not coming, by the way, it's not coming from me. It came from
I
reports,
agree.
and also from Honorable Jacob Oulanyah, who was a deputy speaker,
Yeah, I agree.
who is still deputy speaker,
Patrick,
and was frustrated by the level.
I agree with you
of
that that's actually a proper perception and what is going on in Parliament, because people only debate where they expect to get something, and they also debate to please the establishment. They are not actually debating for the common man. There's no debate because they are actually people who are there just to earn something, and that sanctity and
your
integrity
former professor here is telling it right to you and you, Jacob, as you are here, that house where you sit is the house of dealers. Would you want to defend the house?
And taken
Would you want
over
to
by
defend the house?
Indians and
and
Chinese.
Chinese.
I think that's a bit an overstatement.
So you just look at the debate.
You will step in there. Yes, there are some bad apples, all right. There is no point in denying that. But not to say that all those who debate in Parliament is for transactional purposes. That's trying to even deny yourself space in Parliament. Because you are coming to Parliament, make the best out of it. I know as Speaker and Deputy Speaker, the best you can do is try to harness the positive attributes of each and every member. We are not talented the same way. We do not have the same capabilities, but as the Speaker, you must seek out the best out of each MP. Yes, we have been afflicted by this talk of corruption. We've been afflicted, you've talked about the big numbers in Parliament. Those are facts. But the point I wanted to make is that even now, where we are 400,
close to 500 now.
438, still you find Parliament lacking quorum, Patrick Kamal. Even now as we speak. The composition of members of parliament is about 439. But you find instances where there is no quorum in that house. It therefore means that, by and large, I don't want to justify the big numbers. It is our own creation. And for you to say we should have 2 chambers, that would be infringing on Article 93. You will not be allowed. As Parliament, you can't. You can't step there because it will be a charge on the consolidated account. The best we can do is that let's fight this vice. For God's sake, whether I make it as the Deputy Speaker or whoever makes it, it should be a duty of the leadership of Parliament and the members themselves. You see, it takes 2 to tango. And the members themselves, what are the expectations of members? You are supposed to come to Parliament, elected by the people, to articulate people's issues in a manner that has decorum. You exude confidence, and that's how you are able to legislate.
But that confidence you should be exuding, should also exude it when you are campaigning for a position. You can't be here and then you're standing on probability whether I make it or not. No. I thought you are so committed and you are in this for a long haul.
What I'm saying,
yes,
with the individual aspects, should not blur the bigger picture. Okay. The bigger picture, whether Ssemujju is there or not, that is an institution. It is a second arm of government, and it is the duty of each and every member, whether you are NRM, FDC, NUP, or any other, to have an institution called Parliament, which shall act as a refuge for Ugandans, but not to break it or to put it in disrepute, because at the end of the day, we've seen countries where parliaments have been attacked and have been burnt down. And I don't want the Parliament of Uganda to go that.
Honorable Both, I know people are going to use your record. Maybe something to say what you did as a member of Parliament, as chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, probably is a pointer to how you can move as a Deputy Speaker. I think there are those who felt disturbed during the Constitution Amendment, if you can remember well, where you proposed to extend the term of the presidency and I think Parliament from 5 to 7 years. And they say that was smuggled in by you, sir.
Yes, that is a bit of vulgarization of the debate in Parliament. The word smuggling popped up in 2017. It's being used now, and nobody will stop it. So if anybody is not agreeing with the particular position in Parliament, we'll say this was smuggled. As a matter of fact, I even heard yesterday or the other day, even a minister saying, we don't know where the committee smuggled this from. It's just one way of showing a discomfort. Briefly to state what happened in 2017, the committee that I share never made a proposal for amendment from 5 to 7 years. But we made it that while we were talking to many people that appeared before us, some of them were saying you are removing the age limit, which is the safeguard, the only remaining safeguard. Why don't you introduce, they recommended the term limit. And then the term was that it's too short, the 5 years, because of too much politicking. She said, why don't we get from 5 to 7? And we put that in our report. When it came in the plenary, Honorable Michael Tusime of Mbarara is the one who moved in the plenary, in the floor, for the proposed amendment. The proposed amendment. It was not a position of the committee. For the term limit,
you are the chairman of the committee.
Yes, but
you speak for the committee.
Yes,
the committee, in its wisdom, thought they should extend to this the term to 7.
That's not true.
But isn't that what
we just made? They are what they call general recommendations, and they are the specific recommendations which relates to the specific bill and the clauses of the bill. That was not part of the bill before us. So we just said we found out all this.
But ultimately, it was part of the general recommendation.
Yes, that's right.
You are the chairman of the committee that
That's
made
right.
this general recommendation.
That's right.
And you are taking it to the House.
Yes.
But now do you want to disassociate with it?
No, 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 no. I still stand
So
by
why did you think of extending the term to 7 years?
A lot of politicking. And it is even evident here.
In the United States, it only takes 4 years for somebody to be president.
Kamara, Patrick, you want to compare Uganda with the United States?
I want to compare Uganda with the best, because Uganda is...
Is the United States the best?
Well...
I lived and studied
Why?
there, and we still study more from United States. Is it the best?
So it's your considered opinion that the term of a member of parliament and president should be extended to 7 years?
That is a matter that Ugandans can have pronouncement on.
You are Ugandan and a chairperson of the parliamentary committee and somebody vying for the
As
chairperson.
a committee, we were convinced that that was a good proposal.
That's what they wanted to hear, sir.
Yes.
I'm really surprised that Honorable both can even defend that, because it's not coming up as a new thing. It was subjected to judicial analysis, and the Supreme Court rejected it. The majority of the population actually very angry about it. So if it did not come from your committee, which had the mandate to scrutinize all proposals, and you were just laid by an individual and you endorse it, it is quite surprising.
Is it the only thing that the people brought to your committee?
No.
Why come this one survived?
The term limit was also brought. Was that a bad one? And Honorable Nganda Mafavi took it from the recommendation, the general recommendation, and moved it. And over 317 MPs voted in favor.
But why don't you
limit.
subject that to a referendum? Because it's quite a...
You're a senior counsel. They are specific, like for the changing from 5 to 7, the tenure of the president is a matter of referendum. Nobody can come to parliament and say we are changing presidential term limit from 5 years.
If you allow me,
to 7.
latitude, I want to change the gears now. You are both members of the NRM party, and the NRM party and the caucus always have a say on how the party is going to move. I wonder whether all of you have gotten the blessings of the party to get the mandate that you are seeking, because ultimately that is what matters, the caucus. Now, who is the blue-eyed kid?
Patrick,
The anointed.
probably it's too early.
Who is the anointed one?
Probably
Are
it's
you the
too-
one, sir?
No. Probably it's too early to say I'm the anointed person. But what I know is that all isn't lost in the caucus. All isn't lost, I must state. There is when the voice of reason prevails. And for the caucus, they usually want to have a win-win or to have consensus. Ideally, like in parliament, decisions ought to be taken by consensus. But if you have divisions, that's where matters are complicated. But I would be glad this time to see how, whether SEC or the caucus would be able to pick out the so-called chosen persons, preferred candidates. Because look at our track record. Of course, you had issues with mine. But
No, I don't have.
but
the issue I have with you
I'm
is that you give a lot of aspiration and courage to Ugandans, and in equal measure sometimes you take it away.
And you get about it. But sometimes, and rightly so, but sometimes politics is the art of the possible. Without this position of Ssemujju, what else do you have? Because it is critical for you to be on a party ticket. In spite of everything, you try to draw the conscience of members to say, look, would be better this way. Now, so far I've had no issues with my party, Patrick, and I hope when they go to vet the aspiring candidates, I know all of us would probably stand a chance. And that's why I'm optimistic that at the end of the day, the matters could be thrown back to the caucus, from SEC to the caucus, and where it fails, then it comes on the floor of parliament.
So,
the only problem we could have is where we come like 10 And Honorable Ssemujju is strategically alone or there too.
Exactly.
And we end up dividing our vote amongst ourselves. That's why, ideally, Patrick, ideally, when you stand as a speaker or a deputy speaker, you should have a wider appeal. You should appeal to all shades of opinion in the House. And that's where you are most sure to win through this
Honorable
complex
Jacob,
situation.
both, are you carrying out some kind of a charm offensive to SEC and maybe the caucus? Because the SEC seems to be carrying the weight.
Well, first of all, what I'm doing right now as a candidate for deputy speaker, I'm carrying out some consultations. And I'm also trying to court the party leadership, court the caucus members. I know that my professor doesn't want to hear about caucus, but business in the House is done through caucuses. I will repeat that many times. So it has to be that you leave the party, the highest party organ has to take a decision, and through political courtesy, I had to write to the SEC. I've written also to the Secretary General of the party, NRM. I've also written to other political parties that expressing my intention, and I'm seeking their support. That's political courtesy.
At this level, are you able to say whom you are going to support for the position of speaker?
I am a candidate, and I'm for deputy speaker.
Yes, I know that, sir. But I'm asking, there's a position of speaker where you're also a voter. Have you taken a decision on that?
For right now, it would be not in my favor to have a camp or to have a person.
But if the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga won that seat, would it be fair to have two people coming from Eastern Uganda to be speaker and deputy speaker? Or for that matter, you'd be vying for, supporting somebody else for regional balance, because you can't have two people from the same region.
The only problem that poverty in the regions do not know those region blocks. Yeah, and we cannot make compromises over competencies. I may not come from the right region. I may not even profess the right religion. I may not have the right gender, but I have the capacity and the competence. So it's upon the party, with the majority in parliament, and then the other political parties, to sacrifice competency and the skills and the experience I have. You said here, I have been most uncomfortable position. The position of a speaker, position of a chairperson of a committee, is a position that you are a small speaker. In every committee, you take decision, you guide meetings, and I've pulled through. Not that I knew I would contest for deputy speakership, but I feel that prepared me. The controversies you've just said. Up to recently, this following, people will talk about smuggling. When they don't, so I believe even when you are a speaker, you're going to meet controversies. You don't need a Mr. Clean there, but you need a cleaner. And we'll go back to where we started. A person who can guide and regulate proceedings so that Parliament can be able to come out with a decision. Honorable Rebecca Kadaga coming from Busoga, which happens to be in the east, do you want us to start reasoning in the regions? President Museveni comes from the west, so there is no prime minister from Kigezi? Is the west a block?
Are you
blind
to the fact that regional balancing is part of the political dynamics of Uganda, or even NRM?
Actually, you have even a law for equal opportunities.
You see, regional balance. I come from Bukedi, which is found in the eastern Uganda.
Yes.
But the challenges we have, you ask me in Bukedi, what do we have? What do we have as compared to other regions?
But you are the leader.
It's a sub-region.
If they don't have, then you are culpable.
Yes, but we are seeking for political empowerment to be able to help our people.
All right.
To offer our voice.
Before we take a break, gentlemen,
Yes.
Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi, in all fairness, you are from the central region. Yes. The central region rejected the NRM brand of politics, and that's why they voted off most of the NRM people. And honestly, in that house of 500 members of parliament, the huge majority are members from the NRM.
529. Yeah.
Sorry?
529.
529, yeah. A bigger majority are from the NRM. Do you really think in their wisdom they can give this key position from for you in the opposition in a region that has rejected the party that has won power?
Yes, exactly. They have an obligation to ensure that there's, first of all, regional balance, and also political wisdom presupposes that members of the opposition must be involved in the key management of administrative units in parliament. If you don't do that, then you are paralyzing the house. We should look at this house collectively as an institution or an organ of government, but which must work harmoniously with the executive. So if you leave out members of the opposition in the management and administration of parliament, then that's a very big mistake. Because you have 52 members of NOP, you have about 38 of FDC, you have 98 independents who are also not happy with what went on. Most of them were actually NRM, and they came in as independent. So that's the sizable number, which must have representation and protection by a person of their own. And the voice. They have to look at use of
information.
You see, if you look at, we have about 11 aspirants as deputy speakership. The majority, almost 9.
But now it is about 17.
So, yeah? Now it's about 17. And the majority are in NRM. So where do you leave this other group? That group must be protected. And it is useful for someone who is actually the voice. I have the composure, I have the experience, I have the exposure to handle that entire group. At this age, I'm not just coming in as a novice. Being involved in politics from my school days, we came up to create the UID, as we had just left. I've been involved in electoral petitions over 47, speaking for the voiceless, which you call the opposition. As the deputy president of FDC Central. I'm the chairman electoral commission, FDC. So when you look at it, I'm not a political novice. Actually, your parliament will need a person of my caliber to handle that entire group. NOP, FDC, DP, UPC, and the 98 independents. Otherwise, if you leave it to the NRM, we'll be now having these fights. We now people flex muscles instead of. That's why I'm coming as an independent and a moderate voice in this.
I see a man who means well and is coming with a lot of hope. But then, when I remember the words of Honorable Jacob both, the rude awakening or the rude, that will be probably the shock therapy that awaits you. We're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back.
I posted was a reminder of the SEC decision of 2016, where SEC persuaded Honorable Oulanyah to step down for Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga.
Honorable, do you want us now to bring the SEC members to confirm or deny what you are saying? Please,
Madam.
Please.
We can do that. This is a reminder I made. It will remain on record. There were negotiations that time. There will be negotiations even this time.
Honorable Nankabirwa does not speak for the Central Executive Committee. No, she's not the spokesperson of the Central Executive Committee. Further, I don't think the Central Executive Committee has a right to bind a future parliament before even they're elected. That's undemocratic, totally undemocratic. Stop talking about SEC here. We are talking about issues of the House.
Not SEC.
We are talking about the issue of the House. Secondly, the Central Executive Committee last sat in the primaries.
Procedure.
That's the last time it sat. So stop the issue of SEC here.
The race for Speaker and Deputy Speaker, I think, is really heated up in Parliament, and you have seen the exchange, or had the exchange, between the Honourable Ruth Nankabirwa and the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Rebecca Kadaga. Just maybe MP-elect Yusuf Nsebambi, what do you make of that?
Yeah, that's the confusion in Parliament, and actually confirms what I said earlier, that the NRM took over and suffocated the August House. We must come up with ventilators for us to breathe. Because if you're not talking about what happened in SEC and you want to lay it on the floor for debate, that is actually surprising. That's why we need to go in and energize and empower the House to be independent and separate as an organ, though working harmoniously with the executive and the NRM caucus and the NRM as a party. Because the Honorable Nankabiro was speaking as if they were at Chadondo, and the Speaker rightly ruled her out of order.
All right, but okay, you're members of the NRM party, and perhaps you know what SEC says and maybe the promises that are made. Was there such an agreement that perhaps the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga could serve the second term and that was going to be it? Did the SEC reach that agreement? Is that what you know?
First of all, Patrick, there is an impression I wanted to correct. Yes, Parliament, we have the government side and these other political groupings, because we are in a multi-party political system. But the Constitution and even the rules of Parliament have provided for what Honorable Sibambi is proposing before the audience. Yes, the opposition chair the oversight committees of Parliament. So you'll be ready, be sure, if you've been good at accounting, you'll be chairing the Public Accounts Committee, you'll be chairing the Local Government Accounts Committee, amongst others, the oversight committees of Parliament. Now, for these others, yes, the opposition is represented at the Parliamentary Commission through the leader of opposition. And you have whips, you have offices, you are facilitated as such. So, be sure you have where to start from. Be sure. Now, but for you to say that because I know the independent NRMs, I know the others, then I know UPs, therefore they need a deputy speaker. My friend, don't
You're actually saying they need a ventilator, that you guys can't breathe.
Don't take it that way. Because at the end of the day, you'll be seeing that what happens is the question of interest aggregation, where people have aggregated to push a particular candidate. But having said that, Patrick, whether you like it or not, NRM is an entity you must deal with. It is the incumbent government. It has the majority of members of Parliament. Whether you like it or not, don't be a nihilist. Don't start from the word go. I'm going to break down everything. But are you in a position to be NRM, but you help engender the good aspects and aspirations of the people of Uganda? Not that the people of NRM act in a mobocracy. But do you have souls there who can be interested, who can be NRM, but can also accommodate the broad spectrum of the entire house? And that is the challenge. Now, coming to this particular issue, Patrick, I'm part of the NRM. I am. But I wouldn't advise that this spat should come out. It wasn't necessary. And Honorable, the government chief whip has been a candidate and has had issues in her constituency. So I think Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa has had most of her youthful days, youth in Parliament, up to where she is now, since she left school. But to bring issues that will fracture the institution of Parliament, I don't think that that was the best opportune moment, because we still have a retreat at Chilankwanzi, we have a caucus. If you had it in mind, find a way of sending that message. But look, the House is sitting. There is the Speaker in the chair. And instead of helping matters, you are bringing issues of sex, so that you are giving arms to these colleagues of ours who are saying, now you see, SEC decided. Yes, you could find a better way. And I think when we allow that to continue, it isn't indiscipline, but I'm a member of the NRM party, but it wasn't the best show we put up in the House yesterday. And probably, whether SEC decided, we do not know the circumstances under which they came up with that. At that time, we had even the Constitution. Honorable Obosi, I can tell you, the circumstances that led him as the chairman of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament, you ask him, when he looks back, and the fallout that ensued his report on the floor of Parliament, can he be proud of his activity, of his chairing that committee, that led even to the invasion of the sanctity of the chambers of Parliament? Wouldn't there have been other ways of accommodating the position, but you kindly lead Parliament to the conclusion without the fallout as it did? That's why, Patrick, I've been there. I've seen it all. Because after all, this wasn't the first constitutional amendment.
Okay.
There had been others. How come that in other times it was done in an orderly manner, a conclusion was arrived at? Really, of course it had issues. But at the end of the day, it had left a united
you made your point.
And strong Parliament.
And I like the way how you have concluded by really, in a way, showing that the two people here who are in a way wanting when it comes to choose who should be a deputy speaker, but that's what you should be doing because you're campaigning in a way. But on the issue of SEC maybe having an agreement of sorts, you're a senior member of the party, chairperson of the parliamentary committee, perhaps you have more the ear closer to SEC. Was there such an agreement?
Well, by my posting and the designation as chairperson of Parliamentary Affairs Committee, I don't sit in SEC. I don't get any information from SEC. So I'm not party. That's the highest organ of NRM. And I think every party has...
So you have no idea, you have not heard about this kind of an
I have no idea whatsoever, and I'm afraid I can't participate in that debate, whether SEC said what. And I think that wasn't even the right forum. This can't be...
You're trading so cautiously, and that is a good thing, in my view, sir.
Yeah, but you see, why would you want me to... NRM has a code of conduct.
Yes, sir.
There are places, there are fora. You have to establish, there are established fora, either caucus or SEC or national conference, where you can talk about SEC.
All right. Let me open the line. Let me open the lines.
Here now I can't.
Gentlemen, allow me.
But why don't you allow me
to respond?
Answer whether I'm proud of what I did.
All of you are lawyers, and this is even your lecture at one point. Okay.
At least I shared the committee that amended the Constitution. How people get into jumping on table and fighting in that parliament, I don't know whether those who disagreed with that constitutional amendment.
I think the question, are you proud of what happened in your committee
Yes,
to lead to that unfortunate incident?
By the way, in my committee we had no chaos.
No. Are you
Even
proud?
what came out of
with
our
the product, with your product that led you, are you proud?
When you processed the constitutional amendment
I have no regrets whatsoever. What we did is not in any other country. You as a lawyer, you should tell me that what we did in Uganda was manufactured in Uganda. Age limit, now we have 78-year-old president of US. If US is anything to go by, age limit, just because people are having phobias about Museveni.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
and the preoccupation. Yes.
Leave out President Museveni. But when you processed the bill, when you went out to canvass for the public opinion, when you received the memoranda, now, and the men you served, I think it was rotating around. Wouldn't you have done it? Because this wasn't the first time.
Just a moment, gentlemen.
Honorable
Yusuf, these are two siblings from the NRM party.
Yes.
What do you make of the ping pong that is happening right now?
But personally, I'm actually disheartened with what is going on between the two. They have failed to. I thought they would come in here and apologize and say we are dealing. We have been in this house and we have not done what is supposed to be achieved under the Constitution. If you look at the constitutional mandate, completely, it's not talking about just galvanizing the NRM ideology. It talks about really working in the name of the people. And we're not seeing that.
But
we're not seeing that coming from your committee.
But I think you...
When you look at the pro-people bills, they are pending for 10 years.
Like which one?
The domestic relations bill.
Yes. We don't have domestic relations bill in Parliament.
Okay, to do with domestic.
I've just signed, we have just concluded.
The fisheries and agriculture.
The fisheries and agriculture came on Tuesday.
About coffee.
Coffee was passed a long time.
You know, but how long did it take?
Patrick,
I mean, you look at how long did it take?
If I
So
may
we
come
expect
in,
you to.
If I may come in at this point,
But you are the
you talk of the people, but who are the people?
NRM
The
is-
common man.
No.
Yes, it's
Who
clear.
are the people?
When you talk about the people, you're looking
What,
at the
what
common
I'm,
man.
what
You're
I'm
not
trying
looking
to
at.
say, what I'm trying to
but-
say, yes, you may come from a background that is well known. Say once you come on an opposition party ticket, yes, but that shouldn't blind you to know that even those of NRM, who happens to be the majority in that parliament, are also speaking on behalf of the people.
Okay,
Now your duty, therefore, is to balance your art.
Gentlemen,
Balance it,
please,
Professor.
gentlemen.
Balance it and you'll get it right.
Let me involve other Ugandans who are watching in this country and beyond. The numbers are on the screen. You pick your phone and please call us. Be precise and concise. Should we be having any disagreement with the panelists here, you can disagree with respect. And so I'll be taking the very first call online. Hello.
Hello,
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Fahadi from Cape Town. Thank you, Kamara.
You're welcome.
The guest speakers are Honorable Kos, Honorable Pechiko, and Honorable Sirambi. I'm going to try and be brief and as fast as I can. First of all, we're talking about the August House being a transaction house. It is a transactional house. Actually, sometimes I come to a thinking that maybe Ugandans should have a crowd fund for their ideas to be passed, because it seems that whoever funds the most is what their ideas go through. In fact, the idea of making majority Ugandans poor to easily be governed by the NRM is working so very fast. That's why you see members of parliament not only on the position of the speaker and the deputy speaker, but also just on the MP seats. They bribe a lot, they put in a lot of money, and it's not just the beginning. I would say all the organs of the government are gone. Look at the executive, look at the judiciary, and now the legislature, which has been actually the breeding point of major bribes right from the moment the numbers were pushed high to ensure that a certain part actually manipulates Ugandans. I'll talk about Honorable Boss and the committees suggesting that term of 7 years. That could be the evidence that they actually try to ensure the term is more profitable and the capital, which is the income, doesn't exceed actually the profits, which is the output. I come back to the position of the speaker, where in fact, the position of the speaker is more into the mouthpiece of the ruling party. Hence, there must be a lot of money flow causing huge bribes and so on. If the voters of the age limit were paid 30 million Kamara, then imagine the person foreseeing the division of that amount and the implementation actually of the aim of that amount of money. If only the House was more for the common Ugandans, they would probably agree to balance the board by voting someone from another party, probably Ssemujju. I think it's articulate, And I'm not making speaking because maybe I'm not supporting the ruling party, because the Honorable Sivan.
Okay, Fahad, our caller there, calling from Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you so much. Let me take it. I'll take 2 or 3 more callers so that my panelists can.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling Dennis from Nganda.
You are on air. Go right ahead.
Yeah. For me, I want to ask NRM MP.
Mm-hmm.
They want to lead the parliament. Also, the judge, they are NRM. Also, the president is NRM. And opposition, at least you try to give the opposition some places. NRM.
Oh my God. That's a very interesting caller there, you know. Let me take another call online. Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yes.
Hello, you on air?
Yes, I'm calling from Kenya. I'm just here to say these MPs, like, are just a waste of space.
What's your name? What's your name, ma'am?
I'm called Winnie.
Winnie, yes. Okay.
Yes. These MPs are just a waste of time, wasting resources. They can't help the ordinary Ugandan. They're just wasting our time. I don't even know why we're having a parliament. It should be abolished, the judiciary, everything. I think Uganda should just become a lawless society.
Hey, Winnie.
We are just fed up of everything, fed up. I think we're about to undress.
Hey. Winnie, you have to cool down, Winnie. There's some hope. At least have some hope that things can be better. We can be better, Winnie. We have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. You are talking with Bachenga Stephen from Kamwenge.
Kamwenge, Bakenga, Stephen, you are on air, sir.
If I could get a chance to vote.
Yes.
I could vote Ssemujju Nganda, because Ssemujju Nganda, even though I am not supportive of opposition, but when you see Ssemujju, you see that he can read well.
Okay, Bachenga, you have made your
time, sir.
Bachenga from Kamwenge, you have made your point. Thank you so much, sir. I'll take just 2 more, and then I'll ask my panelists to make here concluding arguments. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Joseph Deva.
Yes.
But you see, mainstream media, Vanange, can you help us? Hey, we should bring better things for discussion. We are suffering with taxes. We are bringing a discussion of speaker and deputy speaker. We know the outcome of those things. We are suffering. The country is in a dire financial strait. The country is borrowing to pay its debts, what you call refinance. But you're in this thing. Would they blame mainstream media for being challenged by social media and emerging media? Because you are subjecting us to a very narrow discussion. We have bigger things. Please spare us.
Okay. Well, my producer, did you hear that? Okay, we're going to take another caller online. Hello? Hello? Okay, I understand your question. A number of you would want to speak, but now it's a matter of an issue of time. Okay, let me try to take just 1 more. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Hello, Mr. Kamara.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Kamara. How are you?
I'm fine. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Kiwa Haman. I'm calling from Kirale, Kochilaka district.
All right, go right ahead, sir.
Mr. Kamara, we are fed up of NRM. We are fed up. We are fed up. You people, NRM, God is seeing you.
Okay. All right, I'm closing the lines. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, you did not have specific questions for my panelists, and so I'm going to give them time to make their concluding remarks, beginning with Honorable Jacob Oboth.
Well, thank you very much. The race for Deputy Speaker is a race for leadership of Parliament. Sharing my little experience I have, the controversies we are talking about here those are controversies that have made me be a better candidate for this job. For those who think because they don't have any controversy, popular or unpopular, I think I feel sorry for you. You cannot be a speaker or deputy without controversies. You presiding over the House, you will have a lot of controversies. But one thing I need to make clear to my former professor and others, NRM can be castigated. I believe the silent majority are also there. They never call. We should not talk like NRM came from the Mars. A little study of the theories of democracy or jurisprudence, whatever you see is a preoccupation of the party that has won. Even if it was NUP or FDC that came into power, others would be crying. So those who are saying they're fed up, we just get to know they are not in favor of. But I think I would be encouraging ourselves as Ugandans. Let's be constructive. Let's bring and generate ideas. The members of parliament who are coming into the 11th parliament, let's be constructive. Parliament is an opportunity for us to rebuild and build our nation. And I want to be part of that process, to lay a brick in nation building as a deputy speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable Theodore.
Yes, Patrick. Yes, there were no direct questions to us tonight from the callers, but you could well understand their sentiments. You see, Parliament has powers to make laws for the good order, governance on any matter, even borrowing. Parliament is the only authorized institution that can undertake and commit Ugandans to borrow. So when the caller was saying we are fed up of Parliament, we would want you to have a debate on loans, people are overburdened. Yes, wherever you go, even the borrowing is a function of Parliament. So there is no way you can run away from Parliament. But we will understand and appreciate the sentiments. But having said that, I think it's the duty of the leadership of Parliament to always move along with the people. It's important that the people's aspirations are taken care of in whatever we do. Now, for the rest, whether you are guiding the House, yes, houses can be guided into making autocratic rules. But we need to be open-minded, to have empathy for the people, to achieve acceptability of the people. Now, Kamara, I come from that background. Mr. Kamara, I've seen it all. I offer a unique blend of leadership to the House, to Ugandans. Leave alone those of us who are seated here. But the bigger picture is you need a strong second arm of government, which is the legislature. And with it, you know, it touches on each and every life of Ugandans. We should aspire to lead Ugandans to full aspiration, to the realization of their full aspirations. Seated here, you may not dictate what is going to happen tomorrow, but it's important to go with an open mind. And I bring that open-mindedness to the 11th Parliament.
All right.
I have acquired and accumulated reasonable amount of experience. Most importantly, I'm knowledgeable about the procedures of Parliament. I'm a member of the NRM, but I'm a strong Ugandan. My being NRM does not stop me from thinking and acting as a Ugandan first, and then my party next. Because there, I'm at par with all the members of Parliament. I'm at par with all political shades. I'm at par with every aspiration of Ugandans. And to that, I stand out as a better candidate.
Okay.
Try me out.
Thank you so much.
My colleagues should have trust in me. My party should have trust in me. whether you like it or not, the country must move on. And it can't require some reactionarist. It doesn't require a conformist. It doesn't require a conservative person. It requires a progressive and moderate person, and that is Ssemujju.
Maybe it needs a disruptor. Honorable Yusuf.
Yes, I also appreciate the sentiments of the callers. Uganda is at a boiling point. Some of us are seen as newcomers and novices in this. That's not true. We have been watching from outside, and we have been watching carefully. We have been listening from outside, and we have listened for quite some time carefully. We have participated as activists outside Parliament. We want to come and present what we have seen, what we have listened to, what we have participated in the House. What is lacking in this House is a moderate and an independent voice. We are coming at this age. I'll be 56 in April, not specifically seeking for a job, but to work and serve our people. Patrick, I had the opportunity of standing in constituencies in Kampala, in Nakawa, Machindi, or Makerere, where I've been taught for over 25 years. I decided to go back to my roots in Mawokota. When you go down in Mawokota and you see what is happening on the ground, you really shudder. For example, for the entire 35 years, the NRM government has never built an institution which you can value at 300 million. But you can see the expenditure and appropriation in Parliament without mercy, and no one is talking. So we want to come in to protect the voiceless in this Parliament. And that's why I'm seeking for this particular office to be in charge, or at least assist in the administration and management of the House. I don't just want to be an ordinary MP. We're talking of 350 hands or 500. And the person who decides the show is the person who is part and parcel of the operation of the common man. So that's why I'm coming in. I'm coming in good faith. I will ensure that I put right what has gone wrong as an administrator, the sanctity and independence of the August House.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi, Honorable Theodosia Chikuva, Honorable Jacob Oboth. I want to thank you for your time. I know all these people vying for the positions of Speaker and Deputy Speaker are men and women of substance. So we're like Ugandans. We have people to choose.
Will you clear the air, Patrick, that I'm not a disruptor?
It's not a bad one. I'm saying
It's actually a good one. Yeah.
to make things new and,
Yes,
and
yes.
bring innovations.
I thought that was excellent. Yeah. I love to be a disruptor.
I am convinced the people vying for these positions are men and women of substance, and they can take us forward. Ugandans, we deserve better, and you are sending us your representative in the Parliament. I'm sure those are the people you chose who are also going to make a better decision to choose the leaders that will lead the 11th Parliament of Uganda. I'm eternally hopeful that Uganda, we shall make it. Good night and God bless Uganda.